We have got a very, very wild FAAB here to talk about. All coming up next in the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Happy Sunday night, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am Scott Jenstad, joined as always on Sunday nights by Jeff Erickson. If you could please rate and review the podcast, we'd appreciate that. Also, if you subscribe to anything on RotoWire, code ROTO15 for 15% off any subscription there. So if you want to check anything out, a lot of good stuff on the site, definitely do so there. Jeff, how are you this evening?
Doing well. Fun sports weekend. One of the best sports weeks on the calendar there. Great. Doing great. Actually won some bids in FAAB. Now I'm nervous that oh God, what have I done? But that's the nature of the beast. Here we go.
I don't know which is the worst feeling. Like when you spend all day working on FAAB, you don't get anybody, or you do get someone, you're like, oh, suddenly it has to work out well.
Yeah. All right. I made a big bid. Let's see what happens.
I think the first one's worse. Nothing like you spend some hours on FAAB and you're like, oh, I got two guys for $6. It's so bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it was a good sports weekend. These last 2 weekends are always fun. The first couple weekends, the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. There's so many games going on. Everything's fun. We're in full swing in baseball as well. There was a game tonight. I was watching some hoops back and forth. I wanted to talk about a few players before we jump into FAAB. Jeff Crow-Armstrong. We talked about him in the preseason a little bit. Homered again tonight. There was a bunch of stats about his extra base hits and stolen bases together, the earliest any Cubs done this. He's got 12 stolen bases already. He's got 5 homers. I guess he had a double tonight, not a home run, but still playing well. He's been really, really good.
He has. Cubs kind of slowed down over the weekend after an amazing offensive start. Get lost tonight again. Obviously, PCA was the only guy that really did anything tonight. So. Kudos to PCA though. I mean, you're right. He's fun. He's really fun.
Yeah.
There's some flaws in the profile. Obviously, strikeouts are still a concern. Lack of walks it would be nice if he drew a few more walks.
Yeah.
6 walks against 28 Ks, but man, 12 homers. I mean, 12 stolen bases, 5 homers.
Yep. This
is good. We'll take that. It's gonna show up well in player raters. And this doesn't even factor in real life. The defense in center field is really good too. He's probably going to be a 4 to 5 WAR player.
Yeah, he looks really good. And the key here is I know the strikeout rate's about the same as 23.5%, but swing strike rate's down 3%. So he's making more kind of swinging and missing less. Barrel rate's up a little bit. He's not going to be a huge hard contact guy, but getting some extra base hits, it's just been impressive. But the stolen bases are obviously the huge news here. He had 27 last year, so a pretty good number. But we're talking the first month of the season right now. He's got 12 already. He's on pace for almost doubling that 27 last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's year 2 of playing time, kind of taking the leap here.
Yeah.
Cubs were definitely counting on this. They're maybe not this, but they're counting on that next step up. One of the reasons why they felt empowered to trade away Cody Bellinger, not that, and they just were trying to save money. Let's not give them all the credit in the world here that they are just clearing the deck for PCA, because they could still use Bellinger and him somehow there, or got something for Bellinger instead of just getting rid of the contract. But there you go.
Bellinger's 191 would fit in real well right now.
Oh yeah, but you know what? I'm going to go on record. He's going to be all right.
Yeah. The key for me is he had a lot of hard contact issues last year. He's up 10% in hard contact. The BABIP's 230. I think so too. I think he's going to be fine. He's going to warm up a little bit. He'll have that short porch in New York. Only 2 home runs and 3 steals so far. So he has been a problem so far, but I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to come around here pretty quick.
Yeah, I think so too. The Yankees are a weird team. A lot of things going really right, a lot of things going really wrong for them.
It feels like Judge is hitting like 420 or whatever, and everybody else is hitting under 200. It's an interesting mix right now.
Yep, absolutely.
They swept the Blue Jays today in the doubleheader, though, right?
They did, there's a whole lot going on with them. That's for sure. Some issues there. You want to talk now about Devin Williams? Or you want to hold that for later? Or what
You brought it up. Let's talk about it, man. Another rough outing this weekend. He was officially kind of taken out of the role for now. Probably Luke Weaver getting saves there, but this is one of those ones. Like we talked last week about Emmanuel Clase, and I think we both kind of thought it's a little bit off, but you still saw some really good stuff there. There's none of that with Devin Williams. He's not striking anybody out. I mean, he was a 43% strikeout guy last year. Obviously, he's pitched 8 innings, but he's 18% right now. His swing and strike rate is in half. It was 17.5% last year. It's under 9% this year. There's something really, really up with Devin Williams. I don't know what it is. He's giving up a ton of hard contact, like 11% barrel rate. It's really, really ugly so far.
It is. And, the thing is, the Yankees fans already turned on him. They kind of pre-turned on him. Yeah. It's a tricky spot to be in there. I feel bad for Williams, but there's always kind of that question mark whether he really, really, truly wants to be a closer. That's never been like something that's been like, oh yeah, he's definitely got that, because he's even suggested at times he was fine not being the closer. Despite all that, the Yankees, yes, they won twice today, so that makes things a lot easier, but they're plus 42, they're 17-11. Yeah. Other teams in the division are having their share of problems. Look at the Orioles, for crying out loud. It could be a lot worse off. That they're just having to, give their closer some time. I would almost wait until they're on their next road trip in a way, just to use Williams again, get him out of Yankee Stadium for a little bit, let him get his confidence back up. I forget who said it on my timeline. My timeline is very active on Twitter today, so I can't find the.
Oh, you're so popular.
No, I just talked a lot. But there's I made the who are you more worried about? Whether it is Williams, Clase, or might have been from yesterday. And sensible response. If the Pirates can fix David Bednar, can't these teams fix these respective relievers? I think the answer is probably yes.
Yeah, one would think so. You look a little deeper at Williams, like 429 BABIP is absurd, 40% strand rate is absurd, but there is some bad stuff in there. 16% walk rate, like he almost has as many walks as strikeouts. It's only 8 innings, but man, it's looked really bad. Like he might be in his head right now, but it's looked terrible. He just can't get any swings and misses at all.
Yeah, and again though, he missed time because of a paternity leave for a little bit there. He just. I don't want to keep making excuses for him because he has been horrible, but I'm going to keep making excuses for him because it's, it is early, all blah, blah, blah. All these things are true. I'll point to one physical thing that I think is a problem is his velocity is down by a mile an hour on his fastball. If
someone who relies on a changeup, I was going to say that's not what you want to have either.
Yeah. And the walk rate has always been high for him in his career. It's not like, all of a sudden he's walking guys. It was 12.5 last year. It was 12.1 the year before, 12.5 the year before that. He always walks guys, but the trade-off was you got the swing and miss. You got the strikeouts.
Yeah, you're going to put those guys on base. You've got to punch guys out.
Isn't it possible they're laying off the changeup? Maybe he's tipping pitches a little bit and they just haven't figured that out yet?
Certainly possible. He's the type of guy where if he did that, it'd be really tough to pitch. But it's it's rough. Like Clase A, like we mentioned before, still gets swings and misses, a little bit off, but I do really like him. Obviously, I think he's going to be fine, but I'm worried about Williams. I think I answered that the poll you had too. I was definitely Williams, then a big gap to Clase A. I forget who the third guy was, but I'm a little bit worried about Ryan Helsley right now too. Velocity's down with him. Get a lot of base runners so far. I have Helsley in the main event, and I admit I'm a little worried there.
So I wasn't even aware of that because I have Helsley nowhere. And I have 15, 16 leagues in various platforms. And I got shut out on Helsley, but I didn't realize that. Yeah. Now I see, 160 whip. I should be more aware of that. 8 walks in 10 innings too for Helsley. That's not great.
Velocity's down about a mile an hour. He's getting much fewer swings and misses than he did last year. Again, 10 innings, guys like this can ramp it up pretty quick, but I admit I'm a touch worried on Helsley. I'd like to see the next couple outings go better.
Relievers, like ace relievers, so many times they burn bright and burn out quickly.
They do.
You worry about this. This is a walk year for Helsley too. He's had some injury problems in the past, 33 games 2 years ago.
Yep. Something
to watch for. But yeah, he's still getting 12% swing and miss. It's way down for him.
Yeah.
Still, well, it's about league average.
He's way higher than Devin Williams.
That's his fact. This is definitely a fact there. But yeah, there's a lot of statistical indicators that he's not doing well. It's a question of why. I think with that.
Someone in the chat asked about picking up Devin Williams. Probably a shallower league, but I would pick up Devin Williams in a second if someone dropped him. I think that the upside is so significant there on a really good team and a pitcher who's been really good in the past. I would certainly pick him up. Maybe if you need to bench him for a week, that's fine too, but I would certainly grab him.
Yep. It's just Fred and I are going to do volatile relievers on Tuesday for the RotoWire pod. There's just a lot of them right now.
Hell, even Mason Miller gave up a 2-run homer the other night.
Yeah, well, world needs dish jiggers too. Every once in a while, someone gets in there, but
I'm not worried. Struck out the side today. I'm not worried about him either. Dude is awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Orioles a second ago when you were talking about the AL East. Man, this team is a mess. They're 10-17 in last place. They have the worst team ERA in baseball. Yes, worse than the White Sox, worse than the Rockies. There are some bad teams out there. Baltimore is worse than them in team ERA. We talked many times about them not adding pitching, the injuries to Eflin and Grayson Rodriguez, but this is a team that can't get anybody out. Gunnar Henderson has started really slow. He's coming off the injury. I think he's got like 4 RBIs still this year, or the whole year. But I think he'll come around. But this pitching staff, I don't know how they overcome this, even with all their young studs on offense.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. They don't have all their young studs. That's part of the problem. Kowser's been out for a while already. I mean, Mayo hasn't taken that step. He should have been in this lineup by now. Holiday hasn't taken the next step. He's been a little rough so far. And then you add in the pitching factors there. And Jordan Westbrook, he's day-to-day. He's been really slumping badly too.
Yep.
Their whole they're predicated on being like the new Astros, as same architect, really, one of the architects of the Astros dynasty, such that it was that you would think. And it's maybe is still on Astros, but we'll see about that. But they're definitely not in the same strength. But anyhow, back to the Orioles. It's predicated on, okay, we may not have this amazing rotation, but we have this great lineup. And right now, it's not quite even convincing on that. It's a lot of red on this depth chart too. Rushman's day to day, Westberg's day to day, O'Neill's on the IL.
Oh, Tyler O'Neill's on the IL? I'm sure you looked that up wrong.
Heaven forfend.
Yeah, that must be fake news right there. There's no way that's true.
Grayson Rodriguez on the IL, same thing.
And he had a setback too. Like, I don't know when we see him pitching.
They had some bad luck. Kittredge didn't even make it to opening day. Eflin, is hurt now. Eflin never gets hurt. He got hurt.
Yeah,
that was a bad break there. Trevor Rogers, their big trade deadline. Oh, I can't even say it. Anyway,
no, don't do it.
Sorry.
But I mean, they're at 5.37 ERA, 1.56 WHIP. They have 7 quality starts all year. Felix Bautista is obviously really good. Yennier Cano's good. They got some pitchers in the bullpen, but they just can't get there. These starters are just an absolute mess. Charlie Morton's been brutal. It's rough in Baltimore right now. They need to. I don't know how you fix that, but they got to find a way to get some pitching.
There's no help on the way either.
Yeah, there really isn't.
And honestly, we've celebrated their farm system, but there's not that much left of it, at least among the elite prospects. They got Basayo and Mayo, and then Bradfield's like James Anderson's number 108 prospect, but it's not like a mega deep, farm system. It's not like Boston's farm system. Mayo is, he's doing better this year in terms of the strikeouts. So maybe he makes an impact soon. He's not hitting for average, but we could see him at some point, I guess.
Yeah, but you're right. There's not a lot of, not like, a couple arms that are on the way.
Right.
Kyle Bradish got hurt, which hurt them too. He had Tommy John. So that's another one that's injured. You're right. They just have a lot of red on their depth chart.
Yeah. And yes, they're going to get Bradish back at some point. They're going to get Tyler Wells at some point in time, Chase McDermott at some point in time, maybe, but you don't know what form you're going to get them in. I mean, that's, and meanwhile, the hole they're digging is pretty deep.
Yeah, and suddenly the Rays are coming on too. They're up to 500 now when they've won 5 straight. The Red Sox are playing pretty good baseball right now. The Jays are not, but you just don't want to get too far behind too many teams. Otherwise, that hole, like you said, is too big.
Yep.
You mentioned the Astros when we were talking about that earlier, man. I was surprised. I was doing some work today, looking at teams and stats, and you look at like team OPS in baseball. The White Sox are last. The White Sox are last. It happens. The Royals are second to last. Astros are third to last. They're 26th in the majors in runs. They're 27th in slugging percentage. Every time I look at their box score, like it's just a bunch of guys who are underperforming. Jordan Alvarez homered today, so he's coming around a little bit. I think we don't worry there, but like Yanier Diaz is at 169. We're going to talk about Christian Walker. He's at 189. Jeremy Pena has been pretty good, but there's just a lot of guys who are really, really struggling, and nobody's going off. We talk about the Yankees, like have some guys struggling, but then like Judge and Ben Rice have been great. The Astros don't really have anybody that's really been great, and they have a lot of guys who have not been great.
Yeah, 28th in ISO. 108 ISO right now. That's hideous. hideous. And, then you add in like they've got some pitcher injuries too. So they're not able to weather the storm as well either. Spencer Arrighetti hurt, Luis Garcia with the setback. McCullers coming back in a week. We'll see. Blanco, maybe predictably, maybe we should have, screamed from the mountaintops on this one, but kind of a regression monster this year. I like Hayden Wesneski. He's been saddled with a little bit of bad luck, actually.
Yeah, I like Wesneski too.
Yeah, one whip, 1.00 whip, and only one win to show for it there. You can go for the gusto, I guess, if you want. He's actually been pretty good since being moved in the rotation. 23 to 4K to walk.
Yeah.
But he's probably going to get moved out of the rotation. But
which is weird. Like, he's been so good. I know that Lance McCullers Jr. is coming back. I'll believe that when I see it. But
yeah,
be kind of wild if Gusto lost his job. He's been really solid so far.
Yeah, that he has. I think we'll see. I mean, I think it's because Gusto can relieve and McCullers probably cannot.
I saw that quote that they really like him out of the pen, being kind of a long man. So I did see that quote as well. But yeah, it's interesting. Nobody's running away in that division right now, so the Astros will probably be fine. But that offense is struggling. It's not good right now.
No, it's not. And they struggled with the Royals this weekend. That's they won today at least, but 14 and despite all this, we talked about all these struggles. They're 14 and 13. They're a game and a half out of first place.
Yep.
Because nobody in the division's running away.
They've also only given up 88 runs all year, so their pitching actually has been really good.
Which is the same as last year, by the way. It's the run prevention. I just don't like them in a playoff series because you got to be able to score some runs at some point in time.
They've only got 99 runs, which amazingly enough, they have more runs than the Rangers. Rangers offense has been sneakily bad too. It's a weird division. Like Seattle, it just doesn't jump out to you, but they're in first, and the No City A's are 14 and 14. They beat up on the White Sox a little bit this week, but it's a weird division where I imagine Houston, Texas will get going, but I'm not sure so far.
Yeah. Watch out for Zach DeCenzo getting playing time now a little bit more. I thought
you were going to say watch out for the Angels, and I was going to be like, really? That's surprising.
No. The only thing about DeCenzo is he's another righty in a team full of righties, so there's no like real platoon advantage. My goodness, look how right-handed Houston is. There's Alvarez.
Oh, that's it. That's the only lefty they have in the entire roster. Carantini's a switch hitter, but that's it.
That's so bizarre.
You rarely see that in baseball. That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, that is wacky. I mean,
there's not even anybody. There's not even anybody in the IL that's lefty. I guess you got Taylor Trammell, but that's not really a guy that was going to play much. It's not like they're missing two guys that are on the injured reserve that are lefty. That's interesting. Yeah,
Myers is a righty. I mean, yeah. It's again another team, no help on the way either. I mean, their prospects are Cam Smith and DeCenzo. They just traded for Smith. I guess Bryce Matthews, if you're looking for another one there, but he's in AAA. He's another righty bat, by the way, and he's a shortstop. And Pena is actually okay. He's not really their problem right now, but yeah, this is a very interesting constructed team. That Bregman walked, and then they traded away Tucker. That Tucker trade, it's just. I mean, yes, they got value in that trade, but man, it just upset the balance of this lineup.
Yeah, and Tucker's just so freaking good too.
Yeah,
man. It's just and a lefty in the middle. You're right. Do you have any concerns with Christian Walker? There's some not good stuff here. He's usually a kind of a low 20 strikeout guy so far. Granted, with a new team, we see there's a lot of guys pressing a little bit, trying to hit home run, but he's at 32.5% strikeout rate. He struck out 3 more times today, dropped the average to 189. He's only got 3 homers. He's only got 6 RBI. It's been a really rough start first month. Granted, in July, we might look back at this, but he just had a bad month. It happens to a lot of guys. I think you have Christian Walker in the main event. How concerned are you?
Well, I might be benching him this week.
I was going to say, we're going to lead into some FAAB later, but I feel like you may have added to your first base depth.
I may have indeed. I think it's going to be a case there where I'm going to be playing around with, schedules a little bit more. Yeah. Like Houston this week has 3 home games against Detroit and then 3 road games against the White Sox. Well, that's not a bad schedule because they miss out on Skubal. They're facing Flaherty, Olsen, Job. It's kind of nasty. 3 writers.
That's not great. That's not great for a righty. Although, you got to be careful, though. I was talking to our mutual friend Mike Masato this afternoon, and he, because of the slump, he benched Eugenio Suarez over the weekend for his 4 homer game. So these guys can get hot really quick, and it's kind of hard to time power hitters. But Mike sent me a long text message about that. He's in my main event leagues, which is why we're talking about it. he's in first and I'm in second, or it's the other way around, whatever it is. But yeah, he's not. If benching a 4 home run game is tough, they don't come around very often.
Yeah, that's right. When do the Astros face the Dodgers? Because that's usually when Walker wakes up. He is kind of a streaky guy.
Good point. He loves it at Dodger Stadium,
but he only gets to face the Dodgers 3 games.
Yeah,
you know? It's a little different now. It
says something that you've gone from the point of like Walker is your first baseman every week to like looking at matchups. He's become kind of a fringy guy where you're playing matchups where it's not an automatic play, and that's a point in the season we get with guys, and you're at that point now that says something right there.
Yep, and honestly, I mean, you look at career-wise, he's actually does fine against righties. 822 OPS against him, actually 756 versus lefties last year. So, I don't necessarily want to apply like a platoon split with them, but the Astros do face 6 righties this week for what it's worth.
Although I think you want to start anybody against the White Sox if you can, because I don't think you're scared of any of those righties. They face Cannon, Martin, and Bryce Wilson over the weekend. You definitely want that. But yeah, the first series against Detroit, I'm probably sitting that. Freddie, Olsen, Job's a pretty tough 3 right there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, especially because now I have 2 third base guys that I feel pretty good about playing. So yeah. And I have Rooker's my DH. So he's going to be a while.
Good depth is really a good thing, because sometimes it's going to be frustrating if you bench the wrong guy. But, over the long term, someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to start to struggle. You're going to want that. But real quick, before we get to a few other things, Jeff, the Reds, second. Now the best run differential in the National League. Second best in all of baseball. They are plus 41. I know they had that 24-2 game. Whatever it was.
Yeah, that goes a long way.
Goes a long way.
Also, Orioles in their team ERA, but yes.
When you win by 22, your run differential is good. But the Reds are playing good ball. Nick Lodolo today, 7 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, 9 Ks in Coors. I know the Rockies are horrendous, have not won a game since we did the last podcast. I always like to point that out because it happens seemingly most weeks. They're now 4-23, but Lodolo's ERA is down to 2.25. We talk a lot about the Reds. This is your team here that you're a fan of. These 2 guys, Lodolo and Hunter Green. This is really, really fun.
It is. It is really, really fun. There are fun pieces on this team. I also think they got to play the Pace Eaters this weekend, and that also goes a long way. They also are the same team that struck out 14 times in 6 innings against Max Meyer on Monday, and Meyer turns around and gets smoked by the Mariners. So what do I know? I think this is still not a great lineup for the Reds, but these 2 pitchers are fun. Lodolo was throwing harder today than he had all year. Reds broadcast was all over it there. That was like one of those fun's like, oh, I'm interested in your newsletter. I wish to subscribe. Let's have more of that. But I love Lodolo. I have him in the main event as well. So it's fun to see the strikeouts. Our Reds were good to me today. I had Lodolo and I had Noelvi Marte.
You had Noelvi Marte all the last 10 days, and boy, those first couple of days were rough. And he had the 7 RBIs, and he matched all week. This job is hit. We talked about last week. Like, I don't think anybody's taking this job now. I mean, it's not like anybody's coming back. Even if CES comes back, I think Marte's got to play. I think his leash is pretty long right now.
I agree. Especially when Jeimer Candelario is hitting an interstate number right now.
He cannot block anybody anymore.
No, and the worst part about Candelario is he's signed for another year, so they're going to give him chances probably. But yeah, I mean, even when and Steer kind of finally woke up this weekend too. Of course, field cures a lot of ills, folks.
So does Rockies pitching.
Yes. These are the combination thereof.
Yeah.
Does not cure Candelario.
Candelario is 113.
Yeah, he somehow got worse this weekend.
You said interstate. I just assumed it started with a 1, but I didn't know it was like that low in the ones. Oof.
Yeah, the Reds, they had 14 hits today. Candelario 0 for 4 with 2 Ks. Killed a couple of rallies. This 8-1 game could have even been worse for the Rockies. Sorry, the Pace Eaters. Let me call them by their name.
He's striking out a ton too. He's at 31%, 32% after today.
So
it's
bad,
just,
dude.
He might be just fried. I don't know. It's bad.
Yeah. And at some point you have to realize sunk cost is a lesson they teach you in economics. Sport, sometimes in sports economics, it doesn't go over very well. People don't learn it. That contract's paid regardless of what you're getting. Why chase good money after bad? Why keep playing him?
Agreed.
Especially when CES comes back. Marte should be in that lineup every single day now, or like 6 days a week. 6 out of 7 days a week. He'll make some mistakes. He makes some base running mistakes. His defense is still, But my goodness, I mean, this is a
guy
that
he's 23. Like, it's going to happen. But yeah, someone in the chat asked, where does Tyler Stevenson slot? I guess batting wise, when he comes back, is he kind of sliding like maybe a 6th spot in there somewhere?
Good question. I think
that lineup something's going to get long pretty quick. There's going to be there's not going to be a lot of easy outs in that lineup once he's back.
CBS with Hayes back too. That's actually a sneaky hidden key. I mean, it's not even sneaky. And the Reds even talked about it, but he's hitting 4 or 5 in that lineup.
Yep.
Gavin Lux all of a sudden is hitting well. These are things that we're kind of like excited about there. I think
7 games at Great American Ballpark this week too. I was going to talk about that later, but it's a nice setup.
Stevenson gets 6 or 7. I think should hit 6th or 7th. He might come back. He homered today. He's had, I think, like 16 plate appearances in his rehab assignment. Got delayed a little bit. They had a couple of rainouts a lot during the week this week. But he'll be back soon. If he's not back for this homestand, it'll be shortly thereafter. But I think he comes back some point during this homestand.
We're gonna get Matt McLean going this week too. The hard contact is huge for McLean. Been really unlucky. 180 BABIP with a 54% hard hit and an 18.5% barrel.
Didn't even play today, by the way.
The hits are gonna fall, hits are gonna drop. But I like to get him going. The 157 is not fun to look at.
No, it's not.
We talk a lot about big FAAB bids. We're going to get there, but Chandler Simpson, Jeff, he's paid off for a week. We always talk about a lot of guys that you get the big bids and they don't pay off. Chandler Simpson looked really good this week.
I did not win him anywhere. I tried actually in a couple of places, despite my skepticism of rabbits, but it's always good. I mean, I know it seems like a truism, but you work with me here. It's so important for these guys to get off to a good start when they get the call.
I was about to say, one week doesn't matter except when it's your first week, and then it really matters. You just buy so much of a leash when you start out hot.
Yep, absolutely. Especially if you're kind of a borderline prospect there. And I view Simpson a little bit as that. He's up to 3 bags now. So
hitting 400, had 2 runs today, 5 runs and 8
lead off. Yeah,
batting leadoff, very important there for the runs. It was a fun start for Simpson.
Helps to face Randy Vasquez.
Boy, is he bad.
Oh, he's gone. Gone. Yeah. He actually was good in 2 previous Petco starts. So we rolled with him in this 2-stepper this week, and that did not end well. He got a little unlucky too, because the inherited runners scored against him in Detroit, including a play at the plate where the runner was originally ruled out and then overturned. Not that I'm bitter about that or anything, but I'm bitter about that.
At least only 3 runs today, and he only pitched 4 2/3. But you just
one strikeout though.
When you have a guy like that, you want to get off your roster. You just don't want him to give up 8 or something like that. It's just as long as he can kind of get out of there and not kill you is all you kind of want at that point.
Yep.
We got a lot of teams playing 7 games this week, Jeff. We got in the American League, we got Texas, Cleveland, Detroit, Minnesota, and no-name A's. And then nationally, we got the Reds, the Mets, the Cardinals, the Nationals, and the Rockies. There are a couple of 5-gamers this week. The Padres and the Mariners play 5 this week. A couple of 2-game sets there. And Jeff, I believe there's a wraparound game. So we do have a day game tomorrow. Everybody make sure you notice that. There's a 105 Eastern game. The Mets and Nationals play.
Good catch, my friend.
Play at 105. I think that's 105 Eastern. So 10 in the afternoon. And no, I guess that 105 Pacific. Sorry. So, but it is a day game for the Pacific time zone. So 105 in Nationals Park there.
Okay, thank God it's 4:05 Eastern, not 1:05 Eastern.
Yeah, I think I was having Patriots Day flashbacks there.
Oh. I'll tell you what, having the 8 o'clock show actually helps me a little bit as opposed to 9 o'clock. For those 8 o'clock games, I'm a little bit more on top of it, more hyper aware.
For that one Monday a year, we need to be awake at 8 a.m.
No, 4th of July too is another thing.
Yeah,
maybe whatever that day.
Yeah. So Mets Nationals are at 1 o'clock Pacific tomorrow. It's just a note that if you're setting lineups, just check that one a couple hours early. We mentioned the Reds get 7 games at home. The Braves do go to Coors Field. Just a note there that a heads up, should be a good week for the Braves to start out next week facing the Rockies pitchers in Coors Field. Jeff, some news and notes. We got a bunch here to get through real quick. Tyler Glasnow is probably the most concerning one from today. Left after 1 inning, right shoulder discomfort. He seems like he's got a lot going on. He left his last start early, but it was like leg cramping. This one does not sound great. Glasnow and shoulder discomfort is not something that makes you comfortable, especially on a Dodgers team. And I think just maneuver him through the season however they can.
Yeah. Hate to see it. I actually I was fading in draft season and all that. I still don't like seeing it.
No, me either.
It's tough. It's really tough because skills wise, you just want to dream on this guy, and it just You keep running this. The Dodgers as a whole are getting that way now too. It's again, you think, well, hey, let's see how much, let's see these injuries hit this depth now. Ha ha ha. Oh, look. Oh, okay. Okay. The fates have kind of said, okay, let's see. And we're down to Yamamoto, Sasaki, and May. Those are your healthy starters right now.
Yeah. Kershaw's kind of ramping up in the minors. Ben Kasparius came today, looked really good.
Kasparius is good.
I like Kasparius. I think you just got to stretch him out now. I think he threw like 3 1/3 or 3 2/3 today, something like that. I think you got to stretch him out. I think he needs to be one of your guys.
Kasparius versus Hayden Birdsong. Who do you got?
Oh, that's a really good question because Birdsong looked good coming in the other day, relieving whoever it was. But I think I'd go Kasparius right now because I think he's got the job. I think he's got a job pretty quick here. Although, why am I blanking on his name? Gonsolin's coming back this week. I was thinking the cat guy, but I knew it was.
I still kind of like the knack too, but he's going to take a while to get another shot, I think.
Yeah, I mean they're talking. They got what's his Matt Sauer's in there, and he's 26. But I think they gotta go. You gotta go. If you go Kasparius, Gonsolin, and Kershaw comes back, you can kind of piece that together. But man, losing Glasnow is big. Our friend the Guilds, who won the 2022 RotoWire Online Championship, had a tweet today. Glasnow's at 18 innings right now. He's setting the over/under at 70. Which way would you go? I'd go under.
Yeah, me too.
It sucks. I hate to say it, but I'd go under.
Yep, me too.
I think you'd have trouble getting action on people taking the over too.
Yeah, I think so also.
Yeah. Some other injuries. We had a lot of guys go on the IL over the weekend. Logan Gilbert was one of the bigger names, kind of a late second, early third round pick in main event drafts. 15-day IL with right elbow flexor strain. Not 4 words you ever want to see together with one of your pitchers, Jeff.
No. I'm annoyed at that one too. Just getting finally gets back home, and all of a sudden you're like, you're going to use them in DFS, going to be talk him up on your shows, and boom. And I also feel bad for him too. But it's about me really. No, it's not.
They said the injury strain is not severe, but he won't throw for 2 weeks. Going to be reevaluated. You got to think we're looking at like, I don't want to say it, but like 6 to 8 weeks probably before he's pitching in a major league game. 6 weeks maybe. I hope it's less, but I mean they're going to be careful with him. It's not great.
Yeah, it's not at all. And, the fact that we don't even have that timetable, it's going to be, okay, we're going to rest him and then we're going to evaluate him. That's the thing that kind of scares you a little bit.
And obviously you're holding him, but you're kind of waiting, but I think you're probably looking at June before you can put him in your lineup again.
Yep.
Luke Keaschall, who we mentioned last week, started out really well, broke his right forearm, so he went on the IL. You mentioned Tyler O'Neill, neck soreness. He's on the 10-day IL as well.
Let's talk Keaschall for a second.
Yeah.
Because 2 things. One, he was batting 3rd for the Twins.
He really was. He was right in the middle of the lineup. He looked really good.
Yeah. Shout out to my home league mate, Rich Bateman. He optimized the heck out of his FAAB bid on Thursday and then lost him on Friday. But he beat me by $4 and $341 to $337 in our AL only home league. So I sent him an email like, great job bidding him. And of course he gets hit by that pitch the next day.
Wow, you really jinxed the poor guy.
I didn't mean to. I was mad because I love Keaschall. I have him in a dynasty league, so it's like I'm in on Keaschall.
You get an AL only guy hitting 3rd in a lineup with some other big names
with stolen bases.
Yeah, losing that is tough.
Yeah, and also Don Scott in my main event got him. Like we were all spending all that time on Chandler Simpson. Well worth it, by the way, and others last week. We only kind of talked about Keaschall. He got Keaschall for $13 last week. It was just a great bid. I said he was sitting next to us. He is team 14. I'm team 15 in the main. Got it. This great bid on him and then loses him like that. It kind of sucks.
It really does. Garrett Mitchell, who a lot of people liked coming into this year, has struggled so far though. But he went on the 10-day IL with an oblique strain.
We dropped him.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to. Oblique strains just linger. They're probably looking at 4 to 6 weeks on that too.
It's the second one too, by the way.
And he's been so bad too. Like it's hard to hold a guy who's struggled and then gets hurt.
Yep.
JT Ginn, who you and I talked about a couple weeks ago, really looking good in the minors. First start with the A's looked good. Second start was not as good. He went on the 15-day IL with right elbow inflammation. Another thing you don't want to hear with pitchers, obviously an easy drop there.
Mm-hmm.
Cole Reagan's mild left groin strain. It sounds like he's going to try and pitch this week. Jeff, Reagan's is an ace. He's really, really good. What do you do with, they don't play till Tuesday, so you got some time to decide, but he might pitch Wednesday. How do you feel about throwing that? It's a tough call.
I think I probably said him this week. As Eric Dagerman says, a strain is a tear.
Yep.
It's a Will Carrollism. It's a Jeff Stoddism. It's anybody who does medical preaches that to us the whole time.
He's also pitching in a minor league stadium, so that doesn't really. It's not like it's an awesome setup there either. He's pitching.
He's our ace, though. I mean, ace is ace usually, but man, I think I probably rest him this week. You're only missing one start, and then I
kind of think you can probably wait until maybe they say something on Tuesday too. If you have another guy that didn't pitch on Monday, so I might try and set that up. So if they say like, "Oh, Reagan's is good to go," I'm putting him in no matter what anyway. But if I have to decide before I get any news, I think he's probably a sit for the week too, which is tough.
Yeah.
What about Cristopher Sanchez? He had a bullpen session today. Sounds like they're really talking this up like he's okay. What do you do with him this week? He is scheduled to pitch at home against Washington on Wednesday. Again, we don't know that's happening for sure. You might get some news on Tuesday. Phillies don't play on Monday, so you're not getting news tomorrow. But, it sounds like he's okay, but these are always ones that are like, oh, then he has a setback, and they didn't put him on the IL. I'd worry about him this week for sure.
Yeah, and they're going to get Ranger Suarez back probably next Sunday is what our projected starters grid has for Suarez. So it's an easy swap. That's the other thing that I'm a little worried about there. You could just see him like, oh, okay, we'll just put him on the IL because we've already sat for 3 or 4 days. Backdate it. It won't cost. It costs us 2 starts. Fine, let's go ahead and do that.
He's so important to them. Like you just want to make sure that you get everything good there, especially with an arm injury.
Yeah, and they're the Phillies. They're not desperate. They can bide their time a little bit there. So I'm worried. The other thing too is Sanchez increased his velocity this year, increased his strikeout percentage by a lot, and his swing and miss by a decent amount. I was praising him for that, but you know what? Injury risk heightens with that as well.
Yeah, it's very true. He was a big helium guy in draft, so hoping he's all right too. You mentioned West in his spring game over the weekend. He had a couple home runs, so it looks like he's getting a little bit closer to coming back too. Royce Lewis is playing some rehab games also. We'll see if he makes it through those healthy, but he's kind of on the road back as well.
Yeah, I wish him well.
Yeah, I do too. I'd like to see him just get healthy and stay healthy.
Yep, I'm not counting on it.
Yeah. Let's get into FAAB. It was a big week, but first, a quick note from our sponsor at Vivid Seats. Finally, baseball is back. This Major League Baseball season knocked it out of the park with Vivid Seats and score great tickets to the biggest games of the year. Every fastball, every home run, every eye-popping play of your favorite team, live and in person. Plus, with Vivid Seats rewards, you earn rewards with every single purchase. Just buy 10 tickets, cash it into your credit towards your free 11th ticket. Talk about an easy win. And here's your pro reward tip. When buying tickets for the whole group, split the bill and make progress towards your free 11th ticket even faster. From behind the dugout to the upper deck, Vivid Seats has great tickets for all the 2020 games that matter to you. Visit vividseats.com or download the app today. Vivid Seats. Experience it live. See vividseats.com/rewards for terms and conditions. So, Jeff, we're going to start with you because the first name on my FAAB list here, we're going to talk about hitters first, is Nick Kurtz, A's first rounder from last year that got called up. Power hitter, a little bit of strikeout issues, but A's have pretty much said they're going to play him, at least for a while here. They try to talk to Miguel Andujar, said you kind of be a bench guy. They're going to play Kurtz. They're going to play Rooker. They're going to play Soderstrom. Kurtz sat versus the first lefty, but they say they were trying to, kind of get him acclimated to the majors, et cetera. Obviously very popular. The upside's big. He was mashing in AAA at 7 home runs in 20 games. You went big on Kurtz. Talk to me about that decision.
So I tweeted that feeling of panic when you win a big FAAB bid is amazing.
Yeah,
because you do. We spent all week talking about. Fred and I spent a good chunk of the Tuesday podcast talking about Kurtz. I've won, but now the panic sets in. Did I get it right? Did I blow too much there on him? At least it was a fairly optimal bid. I bid 275. Second bid was 253. So
you're definitely down the list of winners. You're like in the bottom 12. I think he was added in like 50 something leagues. You're in the bottom half of that.
Him and I started off at 400, and then we kind of lowered. Talked about that. I was texting with you a little bit. Don't love the strikeouts. We knew that was an issue. 26, 27%, I think, maybe 28% in AAA. That's high. So we know batting average is at risk here. But I also I didn't see there weren't a lot of difference makers out there. Agustin Ramirez is in this FAAB run as well. Jordan Beck is in this FAAB run, but we'll see. I just thought that Kurtz is maybe the best chance of making a big impact. At first, I didn't even think, okay, well, where are we going to play him? Because Rooker's at DH. Am I going to I guess I'm benching Christian Walker for Kurtz, though. At least.
Who are the 2 third basemen you have?
I have Vientos and I have Noelve Marte.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Vientos is starting to come around a little bit.
Yep. And again, depth is key. It's good to have. You're going to need it at some point. Someone's going to get hurt, but
you don't want to spend $275 on a depth piece, though. You want someone that's starting.
You want someone that's starting. That's fair. The average price is about $340. I think I saw someone tweet out. I think our friend Anthony Geldy said that too. So you're under that. The low was 145, but there are only 3 winners in under 200. The high was 557. Someone got him there. There were 2 bids over 500. So he was, easily the biggest one out there so far this year for a guy that was added in a lot of leagues.
For sure. And I'll be honest, we lowered our price with knowing that it put us at risk of not getting him.
Yeah.
But just because of some of the risk considerations involved there, I'm pretty happy that we got him. I think, but because it does a big chunk of our budget. If the next big name guy comes through, we're last in the league in FAAB remaining at 513.
I was about to say, how much did you have before that? So you probably had about 800 or so before this.
Yeah, 780. Because and the thing is, but you know what? 513 is still workable. I can work with that.
Very workable. There's a lot of people who are in the 500 and 600. That's very workable. You're right. You probably maybe don't get the next $300 guy, but you got one of them, and if he works out, it's very well worth it. He was the 4th overall pick last year in the draft. It's just one of those things that they're playing in a ballpark that's going to be very offensive. I think we've seen so far, especially when it gets warmer. My only concern would be a slow start because they do have the pieces there. They like Miguel Andujar, but he's not going to block him. But if he starts slow, maybe you get, start sending him against all lefties. You got Soderstrom there. You got Rooker. You mentioned before they're playing Rooker in the outfield a little bit. He gets 4 games in the outfield. I like the ad. It's one of those ones you got to try and get a difference maker, and he's a guy that could be one.
Yep, exactly. We got Francisco Alvarez back this week too, so our need at catcher is diminished, which is nice. We're actually going to hold on to a third. We're holding on to Herrera for a while. He's on the IL. We have Carson Kelly, who's fine right now for us. Better than fine. In fact,
I was going to say better than fine. Yeah,
we missed out on his very best, obviously, but we still got a couple of good weeks so far. But yeah, eventually we'll have some flexibility there with another extra spot. But so
that leads us into our next guy. You're talking catchers.
Trying to do. Yeah,
Agustin Ramirez, excellent segue there. One of those things we always talk about, he's going to have a big weekend and then ramp up the price. He did that in a big way. He hit third and DH and hit 2 home runs. And they're like, the second one was a freaking bomb too. He's got this swing that one-handed finish that goes over his head. It's kind of a fun swing. But Agustin Ramirez is a really interesting guy as a catcher. He had 25 home runs and 22 stolen bases last year in the minor league. If you get power and speed from a catcher, you and I talked about him. We're talking about our targets episode, and he got sent down, so you couldn't really draft him. But he was the guy that, we said, if you got to dig deep and find a deep catcher, we really liked him. He came up pretty quick. Clearly has a very clear shot for playing every day. Nick Fortes is not really blocking him. This one was tough, Jeff. I had a bid where I lost him by $5. I could have really used him. Those are always the worst. You lose by 150. You're like, whatever.
Which league was that?
My online main event. I lost him 187 to 182.
Oh, yeah, that's rough. It was 175 to 169 in our league, so it's very similar dynamic.
Your league's pretty low bidding then. That was the 6th lowest ad was the 175. He went. There were 4 bids over 400. His 2 homers today ramped this thing up to a huge degree.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure. He's not a good defender, by the way.
Okay.
So that's one of the things. But who cares if he's raking, and the Marlins have plenty of spots they can put him. Marlins actually had a good offensive week, except for yesterday. Yeah, yesterday was pretty rough. But
if he's going to DH when he doesn't play like that as a catcher, that's a huge difference maker too.
Yeah, he sat out Sunday last week. He was getting the starting catcher treatment thing, Sunday day off, and then he sat out Wednesday's game against the Reds. But today they DH'd him, which is noteworthy for sure. Yeah. I got him in the OC, the Beat Jeff Erickson League, 111 to 81. Oh, good bid there. Drop Jonah Heim. But it's a 12, so I feel like Heim's kind of better than last year, but kind of marginal still. Yeah. Why not take the swing?
I'm more. I like taking the swing in a 12 because I think even if you get a little bit lower in FAAB, I can always find pieces that fit in a 12 team. I can always add a $2 or $3 outfielder that's okay and fine. Where in the main event, it's tough because you're not adding pitchers or outfielders for $20 that make any sort of difference. It gets tougher, but I added him in the online championship too. I got Simpson last week and Ramirez this week, so I've added some fun pieces in the online championship. I think it's a catcher who has power and speed. I think it's one of those things you got to take a shot on. I think that I was pretty aggressive with him. Clearly not aggressive enough. There were bids that were much higher than me that won. I had trouble going to 200s for a catcher. I think that maybe that doesn't make sense, but I was like, you look at projections, they're not that high on him, but man, I just think, if he goes, I don't know if you want to call it, 15 and 12, something like that. That's a huge add as your second catcher.
It is. It really is.
In your main event, though, like you have your second catcher is going to be Ivan Herrera. You're holding on him. Like that would have been a tougher one because obviously you'd have dropped Carson Kelly now, but then you would have had 3 catchers. And if you added Ramirez for a bunch of money, it's hard to, you can't drop him. You can't drop Herrera when he comes back. And obviously you have your other starting catcher, and
I have my DH spot filled.
Yeah.
That's the other trick.
You don't want to play a third catcher at DH anyway, for the most part, unless you get a weird situation. But, with Alvarez and Herrera and then Ramirez, I probably wouldn't have been that aggressive there either.
Question from Eric Degerman. Drop Yainer Diaz for Agustin Ramirez.
That's a really tough question. Diaz was one of my fades this year, so I was not a fan. I don't think I could drop him though.
Yeah, it's tough because the playing time's there. I mean, there's some performance.
I think, and Uncle Ted mentioned Diaz started slow last year too. I couldn't drop Diaz yet.
Yeah, I couldn't either.
You mentioned Noelvi Marte. We talked about him last week. You actually added him 2 weeks ago in the main event. You were way ahead of the game there. He's still 39% rostered in 12 teamers. If he was available in a 12 teamer this week, he would have been slam dunk big bid. Cause we mentioned before the playing time's there. He's kind of locked in. I think that he's an easy add, even a 12 teamer now.
Yeah. Yeah. So far ahead of the game, I've rallied all the way up to 10th in my main event league. So
I was just going to call you ahead of the game. I wasn't going deeper than that.
No, but I have to be self-effacing because anytime I get some credit, Marte's good. At least he's been good. He's had a great 10 days. He has prospect pedigree.
I was going to say, we're talking about a previously massive prospect.
Yeah. He's got a good ballpark. That always helps. He's had a great schedule. He's faced the Orioles, Marlins, and Rockies the last 10 days. So let's keep that in mind when we're evaluating him. But yeah, there's a palpable upside. And, you take shots on guys like that. And sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. He's a perfect post-hype sleeper.
And unless Paul Skeens is pitching, there's not really any teams in the National League Central that really worry me facing them anyway. Like that's a pretty good place to hit this year.
Yeah. And look at the setup this week. 7 games at home against Payante, Michaelis, Matz, Liberator, Soroka coming off the IL, probably Parker and Trevor Williams. He misses out on Mackenzie Gore. He misses out on Sonny
is
Gray.
that a good schedule? Wow.
That's a nice schedule. We'll take it.
Yeah. Liberator has been really good, but other than that, that's a rough one right there.
It is.
What did you do when you're considering FAAB for Jordan Beck this week? This is when somebody that was like, it was a little bit hot earlier in April when he was making the team, and then he was horrible, got sent down. Just managed to throw in 5 home runs this week, 3 in one game, 2 in another game. Got a lot of bidding attention this week after that. What did you do with Jordan Beck? Is just, Rockies are hard to figure out. They send guys down so quickly. Guys flame out pretty quick, but still obviously great place to hit. He was added in 53 main events, max of 335, min of 449. He was pretty popular this week. He was
in our main. He went for, what did he go for? He went for 92. He was high on our waterfall, but obviously although second on our waterfall, but we only bid 29 for whatever it's worth. But again, there's an upside there. There's also a terrible lineup around him, terrible team,
and a massive strikeout issue too,
and a team that's massively impatient with their young players too. They sent Beck down after a short period of time. They sent Zach Veen down after 10 games, basically.
Mashing in AAA now, right?
I don't know how many games has it been for Veen, like 3 since he's been back down there.
There's only been 3. All right.
Something like that. I'll tell you exactly, but yeah, it was on the 23rd, which was Wednesday.
Okay. So pretty quick. I know. I just saw he had a couple good games. I think
2 games. He's played 2 games before today. But yeah, but again, it's the pace eaters, and Nick Martini's got to play, man. It's just what Nick Martini's got 0 homers so far.
I'm stunned by that one.
Yeah, stunned.
Yeah.
Just what are we doing? Kyle Farmer's playing regularly. He ended an over 21 streak with a dribbler infield hit today. Why are the Rockies? I'm sorry. I rip on them every week, but man, they just make it so easy.
Yeah, I mean, when they lose every game from the last time we talked, it tends to be easy. Real quick before it scrolls up too far, someone in the chat asked who's the best reliever to get for holds with the Yankees moving to Luke Weaver. I would add Fernando Cruz for sure in that. 39% strikeout rate, 18.7% swing strike rate. He's looked really good. He's got a changeup that's really, really nasty. He's been fun to watch, but I would add him. I'd even almost add him in some deeper leagues as a regular play too. I think that you might vulture some saves. You might get a win or two, and just kind of, if you don't have a good ninth starter, I think Cruz could be a nice piece there.
I agree. I even like Mark Leiter, but yeah, he's definitely third in the pecking order there at best.
Did you do anything with Jace Jung this week? He got called up by the Tigers. Playing, it seems like he's playing pretty regularly. When it's been called up, he's played 4 games. Obviously a decent-ish prospect. He's a 12th overall pick in 2022. Was not really hitting in AAA. He was only at 240, but showing some pop in the past. He had 15 home runs in 95 minor league games last year. Did you do anything with Jace Jung?
No, I did not.
I didn't really either.
I
thought about it and then just kind of didn't ever end up getting there.
He's not even hitting at the major league level. I mean, he has so little pop. That's the thing that scares me about that. And third baseman, you either got to run or hit with pop. Unless you're Luis Arias, and he's not. Yeah. So
he had some pop in back in 2023. He had 28 home runs. Obviously, we're talking pretty low minors though, but I don't know. He strikes out a lot too. I think the strikeout numbers in the majors are going to be really high, at least the first time through here.
Yeah. I mean, yes, he was slugging a little bit at AAA this year, but nah.
I know he played 34 games last year in the majors, but 31% strikeout rate. So I still kind of call this the first time through. So yeah, it's rough.
It is rough.
Anybody else offensive wise? I looked at Brooks Lee with the Keaschall injury. I think Brooks Lee's going to play a lot. Someone that I was kind of like as a player. He's 24. He was a first round draft pick in 2022. Third base and shortstop eligible is really nice. So you can kind of cover middle and corner with one guy. I thought he was a nice cheap ad this week. Has not hit for a ton of hard contact so far in the minors, but so far we're only talking 12 games, but 56% hard contact rate, barrel rate's over 12%. Squaring the ball up really nicely so far.
Yeah. Any twin that shows any remote bit of promise seems to get hurt. That seems like their thing. They're like the Spinal Tap drummers, if you will. But yeah, Brooks Lee could be all right. He has some prospect pedigree in his own right.
Yeah,
he could be. He isn't an amazing prospect, but he was drafted in the first round. So
yeah,
there's something that worth paying attention to a little bit there.
Which cat is meowing us?
That's
right?
Coco. She's an old lady. She's whining. She's a whiner. Yeah, a couple more that I mentioned it in passing already, but that Zach DeCenzo was an ad for us in the main advantage. Yeah. Rumors that they're thinking about moving Cam Smith to center field.
Oh,
which 247 with no homers, so he's slugging 301. It's again some good defense there. DeCenzo is getting a little extra playing time. James Anderson has him like number 44 on his prospect list. So 42, excuse me. How would besmirch the good name of Zach DeCenzo. But point is, there's some upside here. And the more he plays, more chance he has to realize that. I understand it hasn't really come through yet, but maybe, I think there's some upside here. I think there's a chance. He's not quite like a Marte ad. There's not that pedigree, but there's you get him now before he really starts to click.
You talk about guys playing a bunch. Andy Paja is in LA. 65% roster in the main event, much less than 12 teamers. Absolutely on fire right now. He had 4 more hits today. I think he's like 8 for his last 10 or 9 for his last 11, something crazy like that. He had 3 hits, and 4 hits last 3 games. It's just someone that he started out really slow, but he's got last year he had 13 home runs for them. He doesn't have a lot of speed, which is tough. He only had 1 bag last year, but hit the ball hard last year. Had a 11% barrel rate. I just think he's someone that plays every day in a lineup that scores a lot of runs. I think Paul has someone that should be rostered, definitely in 15 teamers. And I think he's kind of a fringy, but rosterable guy at a 12 teamer.
Yeah, I like him. He goes through these massive slumps too.
Yeah, he does.
This isn't quite like Luis Matos and missing out on the best week of his season, but it's kind of close to that.
Yeah, this is definitely the best weekend he'll have on offense, but I think he's definitely rosterable. Before we get to pitching, I want to talk about closers a little bit before we get out of here. But any other offensive players you were looking at? Luis Arias in I want to say Oakland, but in Sacramento, has been playing a bunch. Had a walk-off home run today.
Yep.
Nolan Gorman, the Cardinals play 7 games a week. I thought if you needed a middle infield fill-in, I thought he was all right. But I think we kind of hit all the major offensive guys I want to talk about.
Yep. Drew Waters was on our waterfall. And
I added him in a main. I think he's just playing a bunch, and it's kind of what I'm looking for at this point.
Yeah, former prospect, but Urias's homer was enough to get us to drop Jordan Leeser shoot. So there was that because we had picked him up for just as a cheapo, just to see if he could get some saves. Had his chance, he spit it up. Move on.
Yeah, I think that's a quick move on. Leisure Suit Larry, I should go back on the FAAB list.
Yes.
Any starters you like, Jeff? This is another week where I had a hard time finding starters. I think that I looked at Michael Soroka. You mentioned him coming back. He had a 78-pitch rehab outing on Sunday. Going to play this pitch this week. I think Emerson Hancock is kind of interesting in Seattle against the Angels this week. He had that first outing that everybody picked him up on for the 2-step. He got smoked and then set back down, but has been good since then. Other than that, I really had trouble finding offensive player or pitchers that I liked. We talked about Ryan Gusto, but he was like 74% roster, but I do like him. Cade Povich had a good start this week, but man, finding starting pitching so far this year has been really tough in FAAB.
Yeah. It's ugly. I like every league I went to, like, no. Maybe Taiwan Walker. Okay.
Oh gosh. Yeah. If you're getting to maybe Taiwan Walker, it's rough, but
yeah. Ryan Gusto, but he only gets one more start, and then he's probably out of the rotation because they got to get Lance McCullers in. But yeah, I mean that's what we're looking at. It was we
really have to get Lance. Really have to get Lance McCullers in.
No, they don't have to. This isn't Russia. We don't have to do anything.
I know they're going to though.
Yeah, Simeon Woods Richardson has been cromulent this year. He's got some strikeouts this year.
He pitched well his last outing too.
Yeah. And he has like an opponent that will probably shred us, but doesn't look super scary. Is Cleveland at Cleveland. I'd prefer it be in Minnesota, to be honest. And you also have the quick hook, Dr. Hook himself, Rocco Baldelli.
Yeah.
They sent down Festa, I think. So at least I don't have to be teased by him anymore. But when you have a chance to start Chris Paddock in that 6.45 ERA, you do it.
Can we get Zebby Matthews up?
Golly, come on, Twins.
Did you even entertain any Patrick Corbin 2-step? Gets home against the A's and the Mariners.
No, I did not. I saw that. I saw. Hey, he's got decent ERAs. No, it's a trap.
Mariners best WRC plus on the road in baseball.
Yes, and they're even at home. It's decent after this last weekend too.
Can we get Julio Rodriguez going though?
That's asking too much.
Yeah. We mentioned Ben Kasperius earlier on. I think we both like that as an arm. I think the Dodgers will. It just depends if they stretch him out though. Like it's hard to start someone that's kind of relieving every once in a while when they need him, or an inning or two here and there. It's hard to do it in fantasy. Even though I think we both agree he's really talented. If he ever got a job though, that'd be the biggest ad this week of starters for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think he's definitely worth just taking a spec bid on.
I do too. And you could throw him in there and hope he throws 3 or 4 good innings for you. But you're probably going to want him to start. But I think he's a guy you can throw for your 9th pitcher too. Yeah,
and the thing is, like we've been complaining about the quality of good streamers. Well, just add him, use him. He and Hayden Birdsong are perfect to use. Yep. Maybe Birdsong got a win this week, and he got like 6 shutout innings. I mean, that's better than any streamer you're going to get.
That's true. That's a good point. I like both those names as well. Talk to me real quick about closes before we get out of here. This is a week where there was a lot of reliever movement. Cade Smith got a bunch of saves, but it seems like from Stephen Vogt's quote yesterday that Glasnow went back in the closer role pretty quick. But we talked about Devin Williams being out. Luke Weaver was rostered in almost every main event. I think he's available in one or two, but he was 76% rostered in 12-teamers, so some availability there. But Camilo Doval was available in some leagues. 72% rostered in the main event, 31% in 12-teamers. It seems like he and Ryan Walker are kind of splitting the job right now. The Giants seem to win a close game every day. So like one of them pitches. I think Walker had a win yesterday and Doval got the win today. So like I think Doval had 2 or 3 saves this week. What do you think about this situation? Were you bidding on Doval? What do you think? How do you think this kind of works out as we go through the next month or two here?
We've kind of been whipsawed by the Doval Walker situation there a couple of times. Walker was unavailable earlier. Then he pitched like crap for 3 days and now he's better again. I don't know. You're the Walker guy. You tell me.
Man, I loved Ryan Walker coming into this year, and his last 2 outings were really good. I think he had 2 hits today, but like 2 scoreless outings. I don't think he's done as the closer, but I think maybe kind of splitting it right now, which is really, really bad for where he was drafted.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Like he should have 8 to 10 saves really easily right now. Doval, I think, has 5 and he has 5. So like it's just brutal to lose those saves, especially in the league where, it's a main event. So it's 15 teams. I only have 2 closers and man, you lose those save ops. It's hard to keep up in saves.
Yep. I even had a spec bid on Shelby Miller. Because Martinez has been kind of, Puck might not pitch again this year. We'll see about that. Arizona's bullpen is really bad right now. Cost them the game on Saturday. The Suarez game, joined he and Bob Horner, 4 homers in one game and still lost club.
Are those the only 2 that lost?
I think so.
Wow. Interesting.
Another name, I tweeted this, so you probably already saw it, but because I know you're religiously checking my feed.
I do. Actually, I have a live feed on my phone at all times.
Good. That's the way it should be. Do you know what other unique club Bob Horner belongs to?
I did see that tweet. It has to do with Pete Incaviglia.
Yes, it does. Although Inky I think he actually did play some minor leagues, but straight to the majors for Horner.
Yeah.
Straight to the majors for Olerud. Another one. Xavier Nady went straight to the majors, then went down to the minors after that.
Xavier Nady. Wow, that's a name right there.
Remember he had that long holdout? It was back when the signing deadline was a little bit later. He signed in like September, got a pinch hit appearance in the majors, signed a major league contract. So he was on option years right away and all that. Usually it's pitchers. Garrett Crochet never pitched in the minors once.
Wow, really? I did not know that. Interesting.
Yeah. Fun facts. But it's usually pitchers. It's usually relief pitchers. Greg Olson with 2 G's.
Rookie of the year, Greg Olson.
Yes. Well, rookie of the year, Bob Horner. Also,
good call. Yeah, that's right. It's interesting how few guys. I mean, compared to other sports, how few guys just skip the minors totally.
Brian Zimmerman, Kansas City Moose, chimes in there too. I love stuff like that. This is the thing I love, like the threads that you can connect from childhood. Like I remember Bob Horner when I was a kid, and that frilly hair and all that. And some amazing stuff there.
Talk to me about the Tigers relieving situation. We talked,
no, thank you.
Tommy Canley had been getting some saves, but like Will Vest stepped up this week. He was a popular ad across a lot of main events. He was adding 36 leagues, Jeff, with a high of 313. There were a lot of bids in triple digits for Will Vest this week. I was interested, but I was kind of down in like the 20s, 30s, 40s in some places. I liked him, but I was way off on how much he would go for. There were a couple of, we talked about this a bunch. There are a lot of really good FAAB, content pieces out there now. A couple of those really liked Will Vest. I think that ramped up his price. People read a lot of these things. It's changed FAAB. There's a lot of really good work going on out there that it affects what people bid on. Will Vest got really popular this afternoon. Everybody started talking him up. There were a lot of bids over triple digits this week.
Yeah, 53-47 in my main. Jenny Butler with the win.
Your league really has some low bids. That was the 5th lowest win right there.
Yeah, well,
interesting.
We've been playing like this game where we kind of respect each other, I guess, and that's going to be starting to get blown out of the water with some of these.
Very active, but it seems like there's competitive. But it seems like there's a lot of low win bids. But
there
were a lot of I see 5 bids over 200 and then a whole slew of bids in the 100s. I was just surprised how much he went for, considering I don't know that we feel that the Tigers are going to ever have a real set closer anymore.
The Tigers are the AL version of the Phillies when it comes to the bullpen.
Yeah.
It's almost a feature, not just one set guy. I mean, Vest is awesome.
Yeah.
Let's not get, 0.75 ERA, 0.5 whip. It's a guy, he's a guy that was useful in a lot of different ways last year, but he's really stepped it up. And Holton, by the way, has dropped back a little bit there too. So there's that also. 17.5 swinging strike rate. I mean, that's really good.
After 4 straight years in the 10s.
Yeah. So he's throwing a little harder. It's not like majorly harder. But man, he's also got a 0.83 whip
and 100% strand rate too.
Yeah. So he's running a little lucky too.
But a lot of ground balls, a lot of swing and miss. It's a really good combo. And he's a fiery guy too. He was like yelling after a strikeout the other day.
Gotta love that.
I do.
Gotta love that.
I love it. It's like Liam Hendricks. I love guys that yell at people after strikeouts.
That's
I'm
worth a little bit more. Yeah.
It is a couple more bucks for me, but I don't know. I was really interested, but I was definitely surprised by how much he ended up getting. I guess there's a lot of people that have lost closers, especially if you have Williams or Clase or Ryan Walker, or even if you're worried about Helsley. Like, there's a lot of those top closers, guys that we thought were pretty safe. People are looking for saves right now.
Yeah. Brisky's hurt too. That's another thing. Foley's still in the minors. There was some talk about him getting the call, and then that didn't. And then he got hurt down in AAA. So yeah, that's not going to happen there.
You mentioned the Diamondbacks. I almost said the Cardinals. Jeez. Kevin Ginkel made a second rehab outing on Saturday, so maybe he comes in and gets some save ops there. Phil Maton is pitching really well for the Cardinals. He had one blow up, but other than that, he's been really good. If you are worried about Ryan Helsley, I think he's probably the next man up if Helsley, if something goes on there. We mentioned the velo's down, a lot of base runners. Mm-hmm. Porter Hodge is 40% rostered. He's another interesting one with Ryan Presley. I think he had his knee drained. There's one of those things that happened. He pitched today, so maybe he's back. But that's just one that I can't see him really making it through the whole year without hitting an IL stint at some point.
Yeah, it would be better if Hodge had actually been good so far, though.
That's a fair point.
He was one of the victims of Win Mageddon. The principal victim, perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a crazy game. I love those Wrigley Win Mageddon games. There's always that famous one with the Phillies where Mike Schmidt had 14 RBIs or whatever it was.
They replay that in MLB once or twice a year. It's beautiful.
I love that. There's some really fun ones there, and that's always the one I think it was Dave Kingman too. Like pop-ups were going
that was the Ryan Sandberg game, right? That was
Sandberg. There you go. Yeah.
That was the, hey, let's introduce Ryan Sandberg to the world sort of game.
Yeah. No, that was, I love when they show those old Wrigley games. You get Harry Carey on there is always a lot of fun. But
yeah.
Anybody else closer-wise? That's a lot of names. I mean, I think that Doval was probably the most interesting. If he's obviously been a pretty high-level closer in the past. If Ryan Walker struggles at all anymore, I think that he could run with that. Luke Weaver's obviously an easy one. He's just really good, and Williams has been a mess so far. Anybody else you liked? What about Justin Slayton in Boston? Pitching really well.
Good pitcher.
Seems like he and Chapman are kind of splitting a little bit, although maybe a little more Chapman, but it's a tough one there.
Yeah. A quickie quiz for you.
Yeah.
How many saves does Trevor McGill have?
2.
Yes, you must have them.
I do have him in the main event. I actually thought it was 1 when I said it, but it's 2. It's been a weird year. He had a couple bad outings, then he had that knee thing. It's just been really weird.
Yeah. Nick Mears is a good pitcher. I pay attention to him a little bit. 9-1 K to walk so far. They called up Yo-Ho, the Pirates fight for me.
Yeah. He can punch some guys out.
Yeah, he can. Yeah. With his breaking stuff, he doesn't throw that hard is the other thing. Yo-Ho's a kind of a quirky pitcher.
You're right. Nick Mears has been nasty. 29% strikeout rate, 3% walk rate, 0.46 whip is pretty solid so far.
Yeah. Uribe started the year with a suspension. He's all right. He throws really hard, but I feel like he throws kind of straight. So
did you see how Luke Jackson lost the game today?
It was like a little league play, right?
Like a chopper, slow grounder in the infield that got thrown past the first baseman. Mm-hmm. And I think it was Elio Ramos ran to second, stopped, and then realized that nobody was kind of getting the ball in right field. Went to third, they threw to third, threw it away, and he scored and went home and like did a full belly flop into home. It was it's a pretty rough way to lose a 2-2 game.
Yeah, it is. And he kind of Jackson had a rough weekend. The Rangers had a rough weekend. Any concern there?
I mean, you know how much I love Chris Martin, so I'd love it to kind of come back around there, but it's
really hard to hold on to Martin now.
It would be hard to hold on to Martin. I just they've got they have Robert Garcia there too, so they've got a couple different options. Garcia's been really good. He's got a 1.5 ERA and a 0.92 WHIP with a pretty good strikeout, 15% swinging strike rates. But I always think Chris Martin's good, but I don't know. It seemed like if he was going to they're going to give him the job, they would have given him to him to start the year. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson still has 8 saves. He got the save on Friday. It was a fluke play today.
I wouldn't hold today against him at all.
Yeah. He got the loss against the A's earlier in the week. That's the one so it's a rough week, I should say, but he's probably going to still hold the job though, unfortunately, if you have Martin.
And we've talked about Chris Martin a lot. I mean, we think he's just a really, really good pitcher. I just, I don't know. If Bochy wanted to give him the job, I thought he would have did it to start the year, and he didn't do it at all.
Yep, exactly.
Anything else on your mind? Anything else you want to talk about? I don't know, Indiana Pacers or anything?
Go Pacers. Feel bad for Dame.
Yeah.
Pistons got screwed.
They would play Cleveland if they, assuming they win the series?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Pistons got screwed, and I don't know how I feel about it because I kind of hate both teams. So there's that.
That was a wild and fun game to watch, though. That thing was so crazy. At some point, the refs just lost control and just stopped calling fouls. It was weird.
Yeah, and that's just the thing. They call all these little touch fouls.
Yep.
And then they just, it shouldn't, time on the clock should not dictate whether a foul is a foul. If it's a foul with 2 minutes left, it's a foul with.
I like the statement from the NBA that they got the call wrong and there should have been a foul. I'm like, that helps everybody.
That does not help a thing. You're better off saying nothing.
Barkley was funny. Barkley was like, that helps nobody. Like, just don't say anything. All it does is call out the ref and make him look even worse. But like, that doesn't make anybody feel better.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, so
it doesn't.
Well, thanks everybody for listening to the podcast. As always, if you're listening to the audio version tomorrow morning, we really appreciate that. If you're in the chat tonight, we really appreciate that as well. There was a lot of questions and stuff going on there. Always really fun to see. If you have any questions for Jeff, you can ask him on Twitter, X, at Jeff_Erickson. I am at Scott Jenstad on there. Other than that, we'll be back at you next week. Hopefully talking a lot more FAAB. It's been really good back-to-back big FAAB week. So it's been a lot of fun. Hopefully we get some more of that. It's a lot of fun when that happens. Other than that, hope everybody has a really good weekend and hope everybody has a good fantasy week. And take care. We'll talk to you next Sunday.